Hi, welcome to my financial markets recap for the week. It's John Bannon here at colmotech.com. Before we get to the news, what happened in the system this week in the signal? Very quiet week for us. We closed a profit last Friday, and we sat out beginning of this week basically. Market continued going up, so we're obviously not what I want, but at the end of the day, that's fine. It's just part of the cycle analysis, and we're in a news forecast now. And we're really quite bullish into the end of the year. So this particular forecast is a reasonably long one compared to our normal trades, which is really showing how bullish we are and how bullish the cycles are at this time of year. So we've got some really kind of long trades coming up towards the end of the year. So they're typically they're very, very good trades. So that's what we're expecting. So all quiet in the Western Front this week as far as we're concerned, but the market is obviously very bullish. The Nasdaq didn't quite reach its all-time highs, so that's probably going to be a little bit of a magnet, as the S&P and the Dow Jones hit their all-time highs, but the Nasdaq's lagging a little bit, so we're still expecting more upside to at least to the end of the month. It'll jump around a little bit, I'm sure, but in November should be quite bullish too. So that's our expectation. So that's what happened in the system, that's what's happening in the market. What is the news that's moving the market? This week Tesla reported, so everyone's watching Tesla, how well Tesla are doing as a benchmark against the auto industry and everything else. They had record sales. The last quarter were knocked out of the park basically. Despite the chip shortages that people are talking about and the port blockages that have been happening, they're still managing to knock out the park, so good for them. They sold something like 240,000 cars last quarter, which is a fantastic result. It's $12 billion in sales, incredible result for Tesla. And for reference, NIO, which is Tesla's biggest competitor in the Chinese market, only had about $1 billion in sales, so they are like 12 times more successful than their closest competitor in the second biggest market for the auto industry in the EV section. So they did very, very well. They're also recently launched full self-driving. Let's hope it's ready, right? So they've had some issues with that, and it's obviously a very complicated technology, very complicated thing for society as a whole. But we're all looking forward to the day where we can just press a button and the car, what's the TV show in the 50s, Thunderbirds, the car just takes you, Jeeves or whatever his name was, take me home, right? So, Night Rider, right? So it'll be great to have the car just take you wherever you want to go, right? That's what we all want. So hopefully it's ready, and that technology is going to be pervasive across society very, very soon. Other news: inflation seems to continue to be a worry for investors. Recent reports showed the inflation to be about 5%, which is much higher than the 2% average the Fed is always trying to get control of the economy. That's always trying to have it around 2% so they can keep control of interest rates and the money supply, and that is their mandate. But at 5%, that could quickly get out of control. They're watching it very closely. They are ready to increase the interest rate, reduce asset buying. The market's not necessarily going to like that, but then that's good for the banks. So we'll have to see how it pans out over the next 12 months. But the inflation is quite a worry because it's quite high, and it's showing up in different reports. Like P&G reported this week that the products that they're putting out there in terms of skincare and bathroom products are going higher in price because they have to in order to keep the profits they're putting out. So that there's clearly some costs that are getting higher in terms of inflation, in terms of shipping and packaging and all that stuff. And many more companies are having to do this as well. So it's going across the board. Even the cost of shipping containers to the West from the Far East is skyrocketing basically, and not only can they not even get it off the ship, but the price of actually selling that one container is really quite high compared to what it was before. So bound to have some kind of knock-on effect in consumers as a whole. More bad news for consumers, really. A bad news kind of day for consumers is the price of energy. The reports of people really struggling with the costs of heating their house and stuff, right, in the US and Canada and lots of places. because crude oil's gone up 64% this year. Natural gas prices have doubled in the past 6 months. Heating oil's up 68% this year, and coal prices are a record high. So coal's actually at its highest use in 44 years. It was recently reported in the US will burn 22% more coal this year than it did last year, and marking it the first year-on-year uptick in coal generation since 2014. I mean, whatever happened to the Green Revolution, right? It's just not happening. All these stats that are coming through for energy costs and consumption of energy and fossil fuels are really a concern for the United Nations. That they have their COP26, that's the climate change conference they have in Glasgow, my hometown, and they're having that in next month, and actually at the end of this month and the beginning of November. And incidentally, a UN report, backed climate report that came out, found that countries plan to extract more than double the fossil fuels we're doing right now by 2030. I mean, that is just ridiculous, right? So despite the Paris Agreement, we're apparently dangerously out of sync with that agreement, and that was the requirement to try and meet the goals that scientists have for slowing down global warming. This is pretty scary stuff. I'm hearing stories from different people that in different parts of the world that we're not really focused on, that are seeing real problems, flooding, earthquakes, different things going on. So could be a real problem for us, and we could really got it. Hopefully something positive will come out of that conference that will be something that they can actually make a difference there. Another news this week, Bitcoin-linked ETF launched. The very first ETF in the US markets launched this week, so there are a few more of them following in the next few weeks, next few months. And unlike the Chinese market, they're completely banned Bitcoin. The SEC has allowed these ETFs to launch because they're tied to the futures market, which is they're tying that to the underlying asset in the futures market. And the US-based futures market, Bitcoin, launched in 2017. So they're allowing it to go through because it's not linked to the underlying, just the token itself, right? So it's linked to a financial asset that's been running for a few years. However, not everyone is a fan. At an investor conference this week, Jamie Dimon, the CEO of Morgan Stanley, he still says Bitcoin is worthless. And he went on to say that no matter what anyone thinks about it, the government is going to regulate it. They're going to regulate it for anti-money laundering purposes, for Banking Secrecy Act purposes, and for tax purposes. So he just doesn't view it as being a long-term thing. And I think we can all agree that digital currencies in some form are here to stay. They're probably going to be the currency of the future. But it's yet to be determined what that is still going to look like and what the players are going to be involved in that. Will Bitcoin survive full regulation from the US markets, considering it's been banned from China? Who knows? I was surprised that Bitcoin didn't take a bigger hit when China banned it. So, but that can also still be just a bubble mentality going on, because people just want to keep buying something that they think is going to keep up until it doesn't, right? And then most people are left holding the bag. So I'm not anti-Bitcoin. I don't personally own Bitcoin or invest in Bitcoin, but I know a lot of people that do. Excuse me, and I've done very well with it, and so I take my hat off to anyone that's done well in the markets. So if you're in it and you're making money, great, but it should be a rocky road in the months ahead, months and certainly years ahead, when regulation comes, because as Jamie Dimon says, it's coming. There's no question. We're interested to see what the SEC does and the Fed does around that stuff. So that was the news this week. That's it from me. It's the weekend. Time to down tools. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great weekend, and take care, and bye for now.